There's plenty of interesting stuff in the new Chaos Codex, but this combo looks like it could be one of the most powerful. What could possibly go wrong with a single cast spell that brings back a 90-point model from the dead? Hello and welcome back to Auspex Tactics, where today I just wanted to focus on one interesting Chaos combo that I kind of feel seems like one of the most overtuned things to come out of Codex Chaos Space Marines. I think at the moment it's still a little bit hard to say just how strong the book's going to be overall. Just about every single army just had a bunch of updates, and people haven't really had enough time to playtest or experiment with which combos work the best. Still though, potentially when you've got one Psyker and one unit, and said Psyker can arguably generate more points than he cost in just one single cast, that does seem like a bit of a recipe for trouble. As you'd probably guessed by the picture, the unit in question are the Obliterators, vastly better in the new book compared with the old. A unit of 1 to 3 models where you get some very tanky guys at toughness 5 with 5 wounds and a 2+ armor save with Armor of Contempt, and have some brutal close range firepower with 3 different guns to choose from. They excel pretty well at killing light infantry, medium infantry, or tanks depending on which you choose. In the previous Codex, Obliterators were really weak to being in melee, but in the new one they kind of don't even really mind it. Provided the enemy's attacks don't actually put them down, they hit back pretty hard with strength 10 power fists, and then they can follow it down by being able to fire their weapons in engagement range in a similar way to vehicles or battlesuits. They seem like a powerful unit, not without their weaknesses I suppose, being slow, having short range, and not having core or all downsides, but at least on paper they do seem pretty threatening. Just for an example of their damage output, if you take a unit of 3 Obliterators along for 270 points, their average damage is something like 14 dead guardsmen, 3 dead space marines, or 13 wounds to a toughness 7 vehicle. In general I'd say it's solid damage but maybe not super standout, though if you can get them in light cover they do become enormously tanky with Armor of Contempt, meaning that if you want to wipe out that 270 points worth of models, you need something like a crazy 27 lascannon hits or 14 hits with Dark Lances, and they usually laugh off anything with AP-2 better, as they'd be saving it on 2s. It is a bit weird that in melee the Obliterators are actually a legitimate threat as well now. If the opponent does put a unit too close and they can happen to move, shoot something, and then also charge, then they could kill something like another 4 dead Space Marines with those crushing fists. Overall, I think they're alright for the cost. They certainly have a lot more raw damage that doesn't need investing massive stratagems in them. Though being a unit for 270 points, most of the things that you invest will have good value. The really scary thing though is if you combine them with a Master of Possession and use his psychic power Pact of Flesh, which as psychic powers go is just a very easy cast indeed, only warp charge 5, and it basically puts your Obliterators or other Demonkin back together. You select a core or Demonkin squad nearby, you get to resurrect one slain model from the dead and it comes back with all its wounds remaining, 5 in the case of the Obliterator, and as if that wasn't great enough, you also get to heal D3 wounds on an injured one, so say if your opponent had killed one Obliterator and injured the next, not only would he get to resurrect one from the dead, but you'd also get to heal one for another D3 wounds as well. I'm sure at least a fair few people remember back when Codex Space Marines released towards the start of 9th edition. They had that very silly combo where you could have a Chief Apothecary resurrecting an Invader ATV from the dead each turn. It meant that the unit was just a bit of a misery to shoot at. You might well kill 1 or even 2 of the ATVs, but you're sort of granting your opponent free points as they just bring them back. I'd argue that this combo might be even worse than that one. The investment that you need to get it just really isn't all that much at all. You don't even need any fancy relics or warlord traits. All you need is a single cast from one Psyker, and that Psyker can cast something else as well, and something very very useful as the rest of the powers on that discipline are really good. I think the number of points involved really brings it home though. Basically you have a Master of Possession who costs 105 points, and provided your Obliterator squad doesn't get wiped out in a single turn of shooting, then your 105 point model can effectively generate another 90 points worth of Obliterator, and then if one of them also happens to be injured for 3 wounds or something, he'd average regenerating 2 wounds out of 1, and that would theoretically put him up to generating 126 points worth of wounds of Obliterator back onto the board. If that ever happens, then theoretically your 105 point Psyker just paid it for his own points cost in one single cast, never mind all the rest that he does in the game, whether it's casting powers or fighting in melee. If you manage to do that once, then it seems like it's just all win from there. Talking of his other cast though, the rest of the Malefic discipline really is quite good. You could get +1 toughness on your Obliterators if you really wanted to double up on making them very hard to remove. or perhaps more likely one of the other really good buffing ones. Warp Marked is one that you can target an enemy within 18 inches, and all your Demonkin and Demon Engines get +1 to wound against that target, excellent for those general purpose Obliterator guns. For a different flavour of durability, you could also put Cursed Earth down. That's the one that gives your nearby Demonkin a 4+ invul. It's a bit less useful on Obliterators with a 2+ save and Armour of Contempt, but if you are expecting to face some incredibly high AP firepower, that could still be good. The Malefic Discipline just looks super powerful, never mind the fact that you could always just fall back on Smite. Basically, it is just a very simple combo, and just seems vastly more powerful on Obliterators, seeing as they cost 90 points, and most of the other targets cost 20 to 40. It's pretty great wherever you put it though. Even doing the same each turn on 30 to 40 point models is pretty massive. Say for example with the Possessed scaring you stat line, you could be resurrecting one from the dead, healing up another one, and the one that you resurrect could be deployed maximally close to the enemy unit, trying to shorten your charge as much as possible. Otherwise, just about anything else that you could use to amp up the Obliterator's firepower or their durability would be good. Wordbearers generally get on very well with Demonkin things of all stripes. They could use their hexagrammatic ward to nullify some damage maybe, casually changing one attack's damage to 0. They also have an option for automatically passing a failed psychic test, so some pretty crazy reliability there. And the Obliterators are even going to be hitting extra hard if they do get tangled up in melee, as they get to re-roll their hit rolls, and they could even re-roll wound rolls if they wanted for 2 CP. Iron Warriors are another good shout for Obliterators, I think. Their Legion trait alone giving them ignores cover and preventing enemy wound re-rolls gives you some really nice extra damage and durability. And they do also have a helpful Warlord trait for +1 to hit from a Cult of Destruction unit, so you could give that to the Master of Possession, and potentially have him handing out +1 to hit and to wound. On top of that, they also have a 2 command point stratagem for -1 to damage when enemies fire at them, and if anyone ever shoots at them with 2 damage guns, then that's going to make them ridiculously annoying to shift. Overall, plenty of other interesting things that you could do for all manner of different legions. I sort of feel like whichever legion you play though, you probably can't go too far wrong with restoring this many points of model to the board each turn. I guess you just need to make sure that they're not in a place where they're going to get fully squad wiped in a single turn of focused fire. In any case, let me know what you think. Are these guys going to be a staple in Chaos Marine lists going forward? Or are there going to be some other fun combos out there that people are going to be running instead? Look forward to hearing your thoughts. I'll certainly be looking forward to making a few more Chaos Space Marine videos and rules reviews. There's going to be a whole load to dig into with the new Codex. Feel free to subscribe to Auspex Tactics if you'd like to see more like this. Finally, if you have been enjoying all the videos on the channel, I would just like to mention that Auspex Tactics does have a Patreon page, and if you have been enjoying a lot of videos, any support is enormously appreciated. Channel patrons do get a fair few advantages, seeing certain videos early, regular votes to see what sort of things happen next on the channel, and automatic entry into the regular prize giveaways with a chance to win some big model kits each month. If any of that sounds good to you, or you'd just like to help support, the link is down in the video description. In any case, a massive thank you for listening, and I'll hope to see you guys next time.